Give me one. Yeah. SQL is also pronounced SQL. SQL Server. SQL means Structured English Query Language. SQL is also pronounced SQL Server, that is Structured English Query Language. So either you can use terminology like SQL Server or SQL Server. And SQL Server is the product of Microsoft. SQL Server is the product of Microsoft. Yes, Microsoft. So completely this SQL Server product designed and developed by Microsoft team only. Okay. So SQL Server is strongly recommended as a database storage, mostly in .NET application point of view. So in general, in real time, so whatever the software applications developed using .NET framework and .NET patterns, then they'll recommend to use their backend or databases SQL Server only. Most of the companies will prefer SQL Server database to manage their data and to access the data from their database. So you can take any projects which is run under .NET. So they'll use SQL Server concept only to store their data into database. So it is a product of Microsoft completely. And SQL Server is not a case-sensitive query language. It is completely case-insensitive query language. Means you can use lower cases, upper cases while writing commands or queries or SQL statements. Using SQL statements through, we can fulfill our requirements like insert statement, update statement, delete statement. All these things we will use. So, and next another important thing is SQL Server is used to design or create databases. Purpose of SQL Server is it is used to create or design databases. But what is database? You must and should aware. Okay, database is a collection of information. Yes, information. So here one important thing is data is different, information is different. So data is nothing but raw inputs. Raw inputs are called nothing but data. Okay, raw inputs are nothing but data here. Raw inputs means whatever the user is trying to give inputs. That is, suppose here I'm giving this one. This is completely data only. This is not meaningful data. We are giving the data, but it is completely not meaningful. It is not meaningful. This is raw inputs. This is called data. But information is nothing but what? Information means processed data or well-organized data. Well-organized data. Well-organized data. Processed data or well-organized data is nothing but information. So database is a collection of information. And data is nothing but raw inputs. Information is nothing but processed data or well-organized data. So information always will be stored in the form of tables only in SQL Server. In SQL Server, information, how we can store? Information can be stored in the form of tables only. In SQL Server, information can be stored in the form of tables. Okay. So table format you have to store. But in SQL Server, to create a table, we have to follow some certain rules and regulations. But what is table here? Table consists of rows and columns. Okay, table consists of rows and columns. Rows and columns. And table is also called as entity in SQL Server. One entity, one table. And rows also called as records or tuples in SQL Server. Records or tuples. And columns also called as attributes or fields. Attributes or fields. This is completely terminology at SQL Server backend level. Table consists of rows and columns, and information can be stored in the form of tables only. Every table considered as entity only, one entity, and the rows considered as records or tuples, columns considered as attributes or fields. But in SQL Server, to create a table, yes, to create a table, at least at least one column is required. One column is required, and max is 1024. 1024 is the maximum number of columns allowed in SQL Server database. Okay, maximum allowed. So next in SQL Server, to create table, at least one column is required, and maximum 1024 columns are required, sir. So column means what? Like this: ID is one of the column, name is one of the column, address is one of the column, salary is one of the column, and so on. How many columns we can include? Maximum in one table, 1024. Next, records, there is no limitation. As long as memory is available, then any number of records we can include in this table only. So to create a table in SQL Server, at least one column is required, and maximum is 1024 columns are required. But actually, we will not create this 1024 columns through one table. But whenever in real time that column table length is more, means increasing the columns means, then they will divide the tables into multiple parts. Okay, 2-3 parts, and they'll use joins concept, and they will join the tables, and we will get the multiple table information by using joins concept. Yes, joins also we'll discuss in our complete SQL Server upcoming sessions. So to create table, at least one column and maximum 1024. But rows are, that is up to you. Rows means what? ID number 1, name is, address is, salary is, like this. These are the records or tuples. ID number 1, ID number 2, like this only. Okay, just I'm giving. So these are records, these are columns, and you can see to create a table in SQL Server, table name or column name should not start with a digit. Yes. Okay, be careful while giving table name or column name. You should not give your table name or column name should not start with a digit, like EMP space details. I'm giving my table name. But this EMP details table should not start with a number. Okay, so and also a table name or column name should not be 2 parts. So if you want to maintain 2 parts of the table name, better to use underscore symbol, EMP underscore details only. This is that exactly table name rule and column name rule also. Column names also at the same time. For example, here this is the column of the table. Column name should not start with a digit, and column name should not be 2 parts. If you want to give 2 parts, better to give underscore symbol by combining each part separately. This is the rules and regulations to create a table. Okay, yes. Now coming to this, database is a collection of information, and information can be stored in the form of tables. It's okay. Now, what is SQL Server is my question. Okay, what is SQL Server? Yes, SQL Server stands for Structured Query Language. SQL Server is the product of Microsoft. SQL Server is used to design or create a database. Why we should create, design, or create a database means we need to store the information, customer information, end user information into separate location. That location is called database only. Okay, database is a collection of information. But what is SQL Server? I'm saying. So if I'm asking question to you, what is C#.NET means, how we can say C#.NET is a programming language. And at the same time, what is ASP.NET means, what we can say ASP.NET is a server side technology or web technology, like that. So I'm asking what is SQL Server. Okay, yes. Just wait, you will get an idea what is exactly SQL Server. Up to now, what we can do using SQL Server I discussed, but what is SQL Server I have not discussed so far. So generally, there are 3 different types of databases are there. Databases means I'm not speaking about database related softwares like Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, PLSQL, Oracle, MongoDB. These are all database softwares according to their company products. But I'm asking what type of general databases are there, like local databases are there. First type is local databases. Local databases means which is present in our computer when we install, like MS Access is a local database. Okay, DBase is a local database. Fox Pro is a local database. So locally manage, we can manage our data in our computer location. These are not like remote area access. And next type of databases are remote databases. Remote databases. Remote databases. What are the remote databases? The best example of remote databases are SQL Server and then Oracle. Next, online or internet databases. Online or internet databases. Internet databases. What are that online or internet database? OLAP, OLTP. Online analytical processing. OLAP means online analytical processing, and OLTP means online transaction processing. These two are internet databases, online database. These databases, which will be oftenly used in real-time banking sector application, because sometimes so customer will do the transaction for until the completion of transaction, the data can be stored in internet through only. That is OLAP, OLTP, online transaction processing, online analytical processing. So we can store in internet networking only that database data we can store, that is online or internet databases. These are the general category types of databases, local and remote and online. To manage any type of database, are you getting my point? Any kind of database, to manage any type of database, to manage any type of database, we need a software. We need a software called DBMS, Database Management System. To manage any type of database, we need a software called DBMS, Database Management System. And to manage local type of databases like MS Access, DBS, Fox Pro, which software is required? DBMS is required, Database Management System. To manage remote kind of databases like SQL Server, Oracle, which software is required? RDBMS is required, Relational Database Management System. To manage online or internet databases, ORDBMS software is required, Object Relational Database Management System. Okay, Object Relational Database Management System. So what is SQL Server? SQL Server is a relational database management system which is used to manage and access the data from database. Okay, so what is SQL Server? The answer is SQL Server is a relational database management system which is used to manage and access the data from database, which is used to manage and access the data from database. Okay, so this is the SQL Server exactly. It is a relational database management system. So in our session, complete SQL Server sessions, how many sessions I'll conduct? Okay, so all the ways I'm going to discuss all related relational database management system concepts only. Okay, and moreover, SQL Server job roles, how it will be. There are two kind of job roles are there in SQL Server, especially apart from C#, .NET, ASP.NET. Yes, so SQL Server developer roles are there. SQL Server DBA roles are there. SQL Server DBA in the sense database administration, and SQL Server developer means, yes, SQL Server programmer, backend developer we can call it as. Yes, we can also get an opportunity when we apply the job on SQL Server developer. So you will be settled as a SQL Server developer only. And if you want to settle as a C#.NET developer, then you can also become C#.NET, or ASP.NET developer, then also you can become. There are multiple opportunities once we learn .NET package course. So if you're after learning completed .NET package course like C#.NET, ASP.NET with ADO.NET, SQL Server, after finishing your course, and if you are not comfortable to work with ASP.NET as well as C#.NET, so you feel some coding complexity, so then you can able to shift your career as a SQL Server developer also. You can try in such a way that, so there are plenty of opportunities, but maximum you have to put up the experience, minimum 2 to 3 years of experience, then you will get bright future as a SQL Server developer. So what are the roles SQL Server developers will do? Yes, SQL Server developer only responsible to design to design or to create commands like database database related functions they need to create, database related queries they need to create, database related stored procedures, indexers, joins, schemas, all together complete database related commands and queries they should work on it. And this is according to front end developer requirements. Front end developer means, as in a company, suppose you are considered as a one project. In one project, so there are plenty of roles are there. So suppose I am a C#.NET developer. My roles and responsibilities what? I should focus on only functionality of our application. In the process of functionality, so I need to write C#.NET code logic only. In the process of C#.NET logic code, my requirement is I need to call one stored procedure from SQL Server database. But stored procedure, who should create? SQL Server developers will create, and they will create the stored procedure. And as a front end or C#.NET developer, then I should call that stored procedure by its name. So that's what better to, as a .NET programmer, you should have the strong knowledge on database side also. That will be good in your IT career. So every IT programmer, compulsory at least one database knowledge is required. Especially you are going to learn .NET. So that's what SQL Server I strongly recommend. So that will be good for you in your career completely. So SQL Server developer concepts only I'll cover. SQL Server DBA not. So to become a SQL Server DBA, first you have to learn SQL Server. Then after that, you have to take course from any other institutions like SQL Server DBA courses there. That also you have to cover. That is server oriented completely. Okay. Yes. So now coming to this, when to work with SQL Server, okay, SQL Server compulsory, I strongly recommend to install SQL Server 2019 software. This is the latest version of SQL Server. So SQL Server 2019. Okay. So how to get this software? We have already discussed, like when the time of Visual Studio VS 2022 is there, no? So same SQL Server 2019 is there. Okay. So now we can see you can download from Google easily. I'll show you what are the steps required to download this one. Simple, go to Google, download SQL Server 2019. Now you can see there is an official website is there, microsoft.com. SQL Server downloads are there. Now you can see, click on this link. This is Microsoft downloads folder only. Now observe here clearly. So SQL Server on Azure is there. This is cloud platform. SQL Server at the edge is there. Okay. And this is also Azure required. And SQL Server below you can take this. Download free specialized editions are there. Download free specialized editions. These are the specialized editions. Now I strongly recommend to download this developer edition only, not express edition. Okay. Because I'm going to cover all the SQL Server developer concepts only. SQL Server 2019 developer is a full featured free edition licensed for use as a development and test database in non-product environment. Only license you have to take for non-product environment. But SQL Server Express edition is a free edition for SQL Server, ideal for development, production for desktop, web, and small server applications. Server oriented, as I said, the SQL Server DB, so for them it is required Express edition. But I recommend to download and install this developer edition only here. Once we click on download, you will get SQL Server 2019 software and you have to install it. But if you don't know how to install, okay, actually, frankly speaking, SQL Server installation is somewhat typical. It's not look like that easy when we download and install Visual Studio. Okay, so I strongly recommend just simply go to YouTube. Okay, if it is possible, you can go to YouTube. Still, if you cannot able to download and all, then you can. I will show you. I will assist you how to download SQL Server Management Studio, all those things, install and also. But better to go for here. You can see I'm writing here steps to install. Steps to install SQL Server 2019. You can click on it. Once you go through SQL Server 2019 steps, then there'll be plenty of links will be there. You can able to follow this link. They said clearly step-by-step approach. So many links are there, which is comfortable. You can go through it only. Okay, just for installation purpose. So this is after installation. As soon as when we install SQL Server 2019 software in your computer, you will get SQL Server Management Studio. You will get SQL Server Management Studio. This is also called as in short form SSMS. SSMS means SQL Server Management Studio, sir. SSMS means SQL Server Management Studio. So you will get a tool. This is a tool actually here, but this is what exactly client tool only. It is not a server tool, client tool. How we use Visual Studio editor tool for writing C#.NET logic and all, for creating console application and projects and all. Same at backend side like SQL Server side, we will use this SQL Server Management Studio, that is SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. SSMS is not a server tool, it is a client tool. Client tool is nothing but every client mission SSMS Studio, SSMS software is required. Then only that client mission can able to interact with centrally located database. Centrally located database means, for example, let us consider this is database is located in centrally, and if this database is having huge amount of data, and many clients or many computers or many SQL Server developer wants to interact with the database, and every developer mission should require SSMS tool, software tool, that is for communicating with what centrally located database only here. So SSMS tool is required to install in client mission. So here it is client 1. Client 1 should have the SSMS tool. Okay, client 2 also should have the SSMS tool. Client 2 also required to install SSMS tool, SQL Server Management Studio. And client 3 also, like number of clients, each and every client should install into their mission SSMS tool, software, SQL Server Management Studio, we can call it as SSMS tool. Without SSMS tool, client cannot interact with the database which is centrally located. Here database is having lot of information in the form of tables, which client is required for, from which table he wants to get the data, he can able to connect, and he can be able to read the data from database. And again, clients wants to update back their data to the database, they can update back to the database only. For doing these operations, reading the data from database and sending the data into database purpose, every client mission required SSMS tool, SQL Server Management Studio. This is a client tool only. Okay. So this client tool, how, when we will get, whenever we successfully install SQL Server 2019 software, you will get automatically SSMS tool. But look at here, when we, in my computer already SQL Server 2019 software is there. If you want to go through that, go to search and type SQL simply. Now you'll be able to see this Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio app is their application. Let's click on it and you will be able to get this kind of window. Okay. So SQL Server Management Studio, Microsoft, MS SQL also we can call it as. MS SQL means Microsoft SQL. It's completely product of Microsoft only. For the first time when we interact with this SQL Server, you will be able to get this connected to server window. And just observe closely, there are some built-in services are there. As soon as when we install SQL Server 2019 software, you will get built-in services. What are the services? You can say, observe. One is database engine is there, analysis service is there, reporting service, integration service, Azure integrations runtime also there. But that's not required Azure. We are not talking about cloud. So these are the basic services are there. Database engine is our main service, which I'm going to use right now in our sessions. Database engine through only. Database engine is a service which is used to create databases, which is used to store the data into database and retrieve the data from database, manage and access everything we can do with the database engine only. And analysis service means this is only suitable for those who wants to work with data warehousing concept. Data warehousing means data warehouse is a concept where it can be store bulk data. Bulk data means huge number of data is there, and from that data warehousing we can analyze the data by sending commands and queries, and we can filter the data. We will get the some amount of data from data warehousing. At that moment, we use analysis service, and reporting service is used to generate reports. Yes, obviously, reporting is one important aspect in reality, because not only database can store the data and send the data, all these things, whatever the customer details are available in database, according to customer details and customer fields, sometimes we need to generate the reports and we can submit to the client location. Some clients will ask to the their customer data in report wise. So report engineers like MSBI is there, Microsoft Business Intelligence is there, MSBI. Okay, some reporting tools also there like Tableau, ClickView, so many things are there. By applying the tools, then we can able to prepare reporting by using reporting services only. Integration service is used to transfer one relational database tables into another relational database tables. For example, you have created previously one database with lots of tables, with lots of information, and that table was created completely on SQL Server tables. But all of a sudden, same data through client is asking to convert that all tables into Oracle or MySQL or any other database. Then we can transform that complete SQL Server data, relational database tables into other relational database tables like Oracle, MySQL, like this. That is integration service through we can do that. And apart from these services, database engine, analysis service, reporting service, integration service, we have one more service is there which I have not installed in my computer right now. That is SQL Server Compact Edition or Mobile Edition. Yes, using .NET framework, we can develop mobile application also by using Xamarin tool. Xamarin tool is there. And for that mobile application, database also required. For that mobile database concept purpose, SQL Server providing a service called SQL Server Compact Edition or Mobile Edition only. But all these services I'm not going to use, but my service is ultimately throughout our SQL Server concepts database engine only here. And this is the server type. I'm selecting database engine. And coming to the server name, sir, what name we should give server name? Okay. So when it comes to server name giving process, I strongly recommend one option is you can give default name or your computer name. Default name means whenever we install SQL Server, you will get default name or computer name, or else we can give in round brackets local, or better to give that is completely universal server name, that is dot, simple dot only. Anyone you can use, it will work. But generally, whenever we deal with front-end application, so sometimes in upcoming session, we'll discuss C#.NET with ASP.NET Forms, web applications can interact with SQL Server. So communication purpose, we have to give some database address path. At that time, every time giving computer name and all these things, lengthy names are typical. So better to give dot is a simple server name. So this is commonly used server name dot. Instead of that, if you want, you can give local in brackets, or else your computer name or default name also you can give. But default name means when installation of SQL Server, by default, you will get name. You can see server name, I'm expanding drop down list. What is the default name is coming my computer name, desktop iPhone DEP LGI3, something like this only. Okay. Or else if you want to give the only dot is a server name, yes, we can give dot server name, no problem at all. I recommend dot is server name. I'm giving server name as dot in my computer. Now coming to the authentication, sir, this is important. At the time of installation, it will ask you clearly, do you want to install mixed mode authentication or only Windows authentication? It will ask you. You have to choose a right authentication. If you choose mixed mode authentication means this will allow you both Windows authentication through you can able to connect, as well as server authentication through also we can able to connect. But mixed mode authentication, when we choose at the time of installation, immediately that will ask you to enter password. Okay, username and password. At the time of installation, what username and what password if you provide, that username and password only have to provide when we choose server authentication moment. So now you can see this is login ID and password also I have to enter. But I don't have login ID and password. Even sir, at the time of installation, when we go to Windows authentication, later we can create your own username and password making server authentication also. No problem at all. So right now I'm using Windows authentication. This you can forget about this, because Azure means cloud-based environment too, it will come. Okay, so Windows authentication, I'm selecting and click on connect. Once you click on connect, so now you can see you will be able to connect successfully SQL Server Management Studio. Look at here, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio is there, and left hand side immediately some panel like Object Explorer window is coming. Okay, this is very, very important. Most of the time we are going to spend in this Object Explorer only. So what happen if Object Explorer is not available or not appear in the left hand side? Yes, sometimes you may not get Object Explorer left hand side. So wantedly I'm just closing because of to show you. And at this moment you can see Object Explorer is not available. You don't worry, then just simply go to view menu and automatically you can see click on Object Explorer, or else you can hit the F5, F8 button from your keyboard. So Object Explorer, I click, just again it is coming like this. This is actually dockable window. Dockable window in the sense, Object Explorer, when we click it will come, again it will, when we click it will go inside only. Okay, it will be hide and all. So these are the databases. Right now you can expand this databases folder. How many databases are available right now? For my previous batches, I created database at 4 p.m., DB at 10 a.m., DB at 11 a.m., DB at 4 p.m., and Python at 7 a.m. Yes, I used to teach Python, Django, all these things also. At that time, I created for interaction with Python programming through SQL Server. I have created this database. But right now, I'm going to create a new database. Yes, new database. But before going to create new database, as soon as when we install SQL Server software in our computer, some system defined or built-in databases will be there. What are the system defined or built-in databases? Just observe here, where we can able to find out them. Go to system databases folder, you can expand, and there are 4 important system defined databases are there, sir. One is master, model, MSDB, TempDB. So these are all built-in databases, but we will not work on this any databases. These are built-in databases only. So master is a main database which is used to perform user and administrative tasks. User and administrative tasks means what? Suppose as a user, I'm the one user. I'm one user. I'm accessing this. I'm using this SQL Server Management Studio. At what time, what user, what command passed, what command executed, complete total information will be there in master database. Okay, master. This the master user and administrative task means administrator level and user level. What task they are doing, then total task can be done by master only. So master is important database. Now coming to the model. Model is nothing but it will act as a template. Template means blueprint. So when we create a new database, our new database will create based on this model database only. If there is no model database, our database will not get created properly. So model is act as a template. Based on the template, our database will be created. And MSDB is there, Microsoft database we can say. It contains completely job history. Job history in the sense what user is doing, what activity, schedules, other alerts, okay, jobs we can create, SQL Server DB level, that all things will be managed by MSDB only. And TempDB is nothing but it's a name, the name itself, there is a meaning, that is TempDB means temporary database it is. Temporary database means what? TempDB always contains temporary tables, temporary views, temporary stored procedures. Everything will be temporary storage point of it will be there here. So this is temporary tables. We'll talk about temporary database later. We will discuss a concept called temporary tables. All these things we'll discuss in later session. So MSDB means Microsoft related database. Model means it is a blueprint or template for other database. Master is a main database which can be managed all the user and administrative tasks by using this master database only. So we will not focus much more on this system databases. My focus completely on user defined databases means our own databases I have to create. But how to create a database here? Okay. Yes. Coming to the point, to create a database. Okay. SQL Server is providing some sub languages that are important. Sub languages are there. First, let me write sub language DDL. So everybody know that DDL means data definition language. Data definition language commands are there. What are the data definition language commands? Create. Create is the first data definition language command. Alter, drop, drop. These are the main. Truncate also there. I'll talk about later. I'll talk about truncate later. DML, data manipulation language. Data manipulation language. DML commands. So DML commands mean data manipulation language like insert, delete, excuse me, insert, delete, update. These are the DML commands. Next, DCL is there. That means data control language. Data control language commands. Data control language. Data control language. So data control language are these grant and revoke. These are administrative level commands. Next, TCL is there. TCL, transaction control language. Transaction control language, we can say that. Transactional control language. That is rollback, commit, commit, then save point. Save point here. Save point. And finally, DQL is there. Data query language. This is data query language. That is what? Select command. These are all SQL Server basic command set. Command set. Create, alter, drop under comes into data definition language. Insert, delete, update under comes into data manipulation language. And grant and revoke data control language. Rollback, commit, save point, TCL, data transaction control language. Data query languages, that is select only. Now coming to this create. If you want to create a database or table or procedure or function or view or indexer or schema, anything, constraints, anything if you want to create, then we use create command. Okay, create is used to create anything in SQL Server database. Right now, my requirement is I have to create database, so that I am going to use create command. How to use create command? Now you can see here, as soon as when we enter into SQL Server Management Studio, left hand side there is Object Explorer, but in which area I have to write some queries or commands, sir? Yes, I need to write some statements, no? So text editor area is required, but text editor area is where it is there. You can see, click on new query option, new query. Query means SQL Server statement. Now click on new query option. So immediately you'll be able to get SQL Server 1.SQL Server window number 52. This is okay. Randomly it will come. But observe here I need to create a database. To create a database, here I can type the statements. So this is comment actually. This just a dot dashed lines are represent comment section. This will not work. I'm giving syntax to create a table. Create a database. Create a database name. Create a database name. And this is my actual command. Create a database name is db at 6 p.m. I'm giving. It is my database name. You can give any meaningful database name. So to execute this query, what query? Database creation query. Create is a command. Database name is db at 6 p.m. Select this one and click on execute here. There is execute button is there, no? Yes. Or else you can hit F5 key from your keyboard. F5. Okay, there is a shortcut key also there. Okay, immediately intelligence is showing F5 button here. Then click on hit the execute button. Automatically you can see you will get output command completed successfully, means so your database created successfully. Sir, why we should select this statement after writing? Because in this query window, many statements you can write one by one. But number of statements are present, means in SQL Server query window, last statement what you have written, that only will execute. But I need particular statement execute. So that's what I'm selecting. Select and click on execute only. So we got execution successfully. That indicates that your database created successfully. But how do I know whether my database created successfully or not? Just by going to Object Explorer left hand side. Once right click on databases folder and refresh once. Don't forget to refresh all the time. Sometimes even when we create tables and database also, it will not be affected on the Object Explorer window. So better to refresh. Once you refresh, you can expand this database folder and you can see DB at 6 p.m. database successfully created. Only database is created, sir. There is no tables. You can expand and expand tables. So do you have any tables we are finding? No, no tables are existed. Only database created successfully. But most important point is whenever this is my user defined databases. Okay. So whenever we create a database with any name, internally two files gets created. File number one, primary file. What file it is? Primary file. It's always is having an extension called .mdf. MDF stands for master data file, we can say that. When we create a database, two files gets created automatically. File number one is primary file. It's having an extension called .mdf, master data file. Next file number two is secondary file. Secondary file or transaction log file, also we can call it as transaction log file. It's having an extension called .ldf. LDF stands for log data file. Log data file. So when we create a database, these two files gets created, and these two files are useful to store your commands, and all the memory can be managed by using these two files only. Because as a programmer, we will create many tables and many databases and many lot of information we can store. That all the memory can be managed from these files only. Primary file and secondary file. If in case primary file memory filled, okay, memory is completely full, then secondary file memory can be used. But these two files gets created and stored in where? Okay, yes. So I want to show you these two files right now, because I have created one database DB at 6 p.m. This DB at 6 p.m. related primary file and log file, where it is there. To go to the location of the primary file and log file here, now you can see this. Go to Object Explorer, expand your database folder. Which database, primary file and log file, if you want to see, then that is right click on DB at 6 p.m. and click on properties option is there. Properties. Once we click on properties, there will be a dialog box. Now you can see database properties for DB at 6 p.m. and left hand side panel, you can see files menu is there. Files option is there. Left hand side. Files, FILES, files. After files, now you can see DB at 6 p.m. DB at 6 p.m. log file is there. Primary file is there. This file path you have to select. What is that path? Path is there, no? You have to click on this path. Copy the path by pressing Ctrl C and go to run in the search box of your computer, run, and paste the path here in the run command. Once you paste this path here, click on OK. This will bring you automatically your primary file and log file locations. What's your database name? DB at 6 p.m. This is the primary file, SQL Server database primary data file. And DB at 6 p.m. log file, SQL Server database transaction log file. This is two files gets created or not? Yes. But this location also you can visit by following step-by-step approach. C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server, MSSQL 15.MSSQL Server, MSSQL data, like this one. Okay, this path only I have copy paste. Let's close this and let's close this and let's go to manually by just clicking on C drive, my computer, C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server, MSSQL 15.MSSQL Server, and MSSQL, and data is there, and this is the primary file and log file available here. Okay, so this is the database creation with all relevant files will be created. But even though if you create your database, right now you are not in your database. Yes, sir. We are not in our database. You can see in the drop down list what database we are present right now, master database. But from right now onwards, I'm going to use, I need to use this database. How to move from this master database to DB at 6 p.m. It is very simple. Click on this drop down list and expand, and you can see there are plenty of databases which we created previously. Right now I created just database DB at 6 p.m. I'm selecting. Right now you are in DB at 6 p.m. But this is through wizard. Wizard means based on this drop down list selection, we have moved from one database to another database. So again I'm selecting master only, but there is a simple command is there. If you want to move from one database to another database, that is use command. Use your target database name. Use your target database name. Use your target database name. What is why use command? Target database name is what? DB at 6 p.m. I'm giving. This is my target database. Once we execute this command, simple command, use at DB at 6 p.m., automatically the name is there master here. It will change master to DB at 6 p.m. Let's execute. Now you can see it is changing DB at 6 p.m. automatically. So this is the command simply we can use for moving from one database to another database. Okay, so you are the SQL Server developer. So try to habituate to write commands only all the time instead of going to selection option, all those things. Okay, so this is the better approach here. So this is database creation only I did. Sir, can we able to drop this database? Yes, we can also drop the database. So there is a drop command is there, you can see drop. Drop is used to delete database or tables or anything permanently. Permanent deletion purpose we use what? Actually drop command, sir. Permanent deletion purpose we use drop. Okay, so drop is the command which is used to drop database permanently. So I'm using drop command now. How to use drop? Drop database name, simple. But observe carefully here, drop database name is, my database name is DB at 6 p.m. I'm giving. Just observe here, DB at 6 p.m. means I'm dropping this database. Whenever I execute, will it drop or not? It will not drop, sir. Why? Because someone is using DB at 6 p.m. right now. You can see right now we are in DB at 6 p.m. Currently you are under the same database, but you cannot able to drop. As soon as when we execute, it will show error that is in red color. Cannot drop database DB at 6 p.m. because it is currently in use. Someone is using. So if you want to drop this database, simply you can go to drop down list and go to master or any other database selection other than DB at 6 p.m. And right now we are not in DB at 6 p.m. So this database gets dropped successfully. Now you can see command completed, successfully done. But my question is, just now I told you, when we create a database DB at 6 p.m., internally two files gets created, no sir? Yes, primary file and log file. But now I just drop the database DB at 6 p.m. That two files also dropped or not? Yes, it will drop. Yes, it's dropped. So if you want, you can check by going to location. So my computer, C drive, program files after Microsoft SQL Server, MS SQL 15.ms SQL, MS SQL data. There is no DB at 6 p.m. primary file and log file. That also gets dropped clearly. Are you getting my point? So this is important, sir. As soon as when we drop the database, that database relevant primary file and log files gets automatically dropped. Okay, yes. So again, you cannot able to restore the database tables and all. So if you want to restore the database tables and all, again, even though when we drop the database, that primary file and log files we can copy and paste into other location. Then whenever we drop the database in the C drive only, that primary file log file will be dropped. Again, if your secondary file and primary file will be there in other drive, no? So if you store that, using that files, we can able to recover your database automatically. I will show you the concept recovering database if we delete and restoring and backup. All the concepts are there in detail. I'll discuss, no worries at all. Okay. So right now I just create a database and I have dropped the database. Now again, I want to create same database, but at this moment I will not show by using this command because there is one more option is there. No need to create any command or SQL query. Without writing SQL query also, we can create a database. How to create database? Through design. Through design, I'm going to choose. For example, you can see DB at 6 p.m. is not there here. Even here also, you can right click on databases. DB at 6 p.m. is not there because it's dropped successfully. Now I want to show you how to create a database through design, sir. Through design means go to Object Explorer without writing any command. Right click on databases folder. Click on new database. click on new database. Now you can see once we click on new database, it will ask you to give the database name. Okay, database name is just I'm taking DB at 6 p.m. I'm giving again DB at 6 p.m. So owner is DBO. This is the default owner only I'm giving. When we click on ellipse button, you can see. So which is the owner? You want to assign the owner for logins. Which login you want? Login means a Windows Server authentication username and password. So many users can able to create their login accounts. For which user you want to create this database, it will ask. But I'm setting default only right now. So DB at 6 p.m. click on OK. Automatically database created successfully without writing any command. Now you can see DB at 6 p.m. created and tables also not created. Tables not created. Table creation I'll show you in tomorrow session, no problem. So DB at 6 p.m. Now we create a database, and again according to this database internally primary file and secondary file also gets created. Sure. Are you getting my point? Primary file and log file also gets created internally if we create database like this one. So this is database creation only I have shown in this session, and tomorrow we'll go through in detailed how to alter, insert, delete, update, rollback, commit, save point, selection, everything we'll discuss in detail here. So hope you understand very simple way I discuss clearly. So each and every point you have understood, I think so. If you have any queries regarding this session, feel free to ask me now. And I'll send you this tomorrow after completion of tomorrow's session. I will send you this total documentation also, sir. SQL Server total material is there, no? It has complete material is there. SQL Server material. Here is the SQL Server material with all the things are there. With all examples, all topics related, commands, everything I have maintained documentation for student point of view. I'll share this documentation. You can go through it also, topic wise. Okay. Yes. Any questions? And still, and one more important, this link is expiring today. Tomorrow, you cannot able to join on this link. Go to training link. So you will receive from my mail ID. Okay, how you received the C#.NET videos from same mail ID. You will receive one short link. That link you can on that link you can join tomorrow. Okay, don't join on this link only. This will be expired. And those who not enrolled so far, our team is trying to contact you, but they said you people are not responding them. If you don't responding up to tomorrow, then you cannot able to join tomorrow session. Please ask the ask to the DurgaSoft team to send the link for joining other things. Okay, those who already, I have some mail IDs with me here, almost are 16, 17 mail IDs. I will send the new link all to this mail IDs. And if in this list, if you don't have your mail ID, so contact to DurgaSoft team. So for tomorrow link, that link I'll send to this only this mail IDs only. Okay. Yes. It's compulsory to use Microsoft for our sessions. I use SQL star. SQL, you can see Microsoft SQL Server. I strongly recommend because I will teach Microsoft SQL Server only because the reason is .NET application, mostly majority of the application can interact with SQL Server only. Okay, that's what I'm covering SQL Server. Yes. It doesn't mean that .NET can able to interact with only SQL. No, it can interact with MySQL, NoSQL, MongoDB, Oracle, any database you can use. But majority of the application in real time when we go to job, so they'll ask you to communicate with SQL Server. So you have to know about SQL Server, no, at least. So that's the reason. Fine. See you tomorrow. And so far, those who not enrolled for this course, please contact the DurgaSoft immediately for continuation of the session from tomorrow onwards. Otherwise, you cannot able to join from tomorrow. Okay, I'll send new link for you people. Have a nice time. See you tomorrow.